Did you know that Pulitzer Prize-winning film critic Roger Ebert was friends with Russ Meyer? It's true. And they made movies together. Roger Ebert wrote this movie. And did you know that Roger Ebert's TV partner, Gene Siskel, was highly critical of Ebert's work with Russ Meyer, and at one point, Gene Siskel even laid into Ebert in a not-so-nice way, right in Russ Meyer's presence, and Russ Meyer, ape man that he was, threatened to throw Gene Siskel out of a 15-story window. Also true, Russ tells this story on the commentary track of this movie. Roger and Russ, they bonded over their love of boobs, they made a few movies about them, and they threatened to throw a film critic out of a window. Welcome to Exploitation Reviews, and me, Rob, and today I'm taking a look at Beneath the Valley of the Ultra Vixens from 1979. This is Russ Meyer's final film, or at least it was his final film until he came out of retirement in 2001 and released the truly awful pseudo-documentary Pandora's Peaks. But Russ had already been diagnosed with Alzheimer's by 2001, so I can't really hold Pandora's Peaks against him. Plus, that was a documentary thing anyway, so this film was Russ's final narrative film. Let's see how the whole thing ended. We open on a man playing the piano. A woman is playing Pong. But it turns out he was not playing the piano. It's a player piano, and he was just pretending. That's kind of funny, I guess. I think I've seen Bugs Bunny do that. The man gets undressed and climbs into a coffin? Yeah, sure, okay, I guess as far as kinks go, that's pretty harmless. He asks the woman to dance for him while he gets under a sheet and peeks out from some eye holes. So with the coffin and the sheet, is he pretending to be a ghost? Yeah, it kind of looks that way. Well, the woman's dancing manages to, raise the dead, so to speak, and then she climbs into the coffin and has a seat. And naturally, this is nothing that you can see here on YouTube.
Man, I just work here.
But of course, we don't have to stay here. You can now support the channel on Patreon and get access to spicy versions of my reviews. Link is in the description. And then, my irregular Stuart Lancaster tells us we're in small-town USA, and he introduces us to some of our characters. He tells us there are still people who are unfulfilled in small-town USA, and we hop over to one of these unfulfilled people, the lovely Kitten Natividad. She is completely naked throughout this entire scene, so there's very little I can show you, which is too bad because she has never looked better. The basic idea here is that her husband, Lamar, is busy doing some homework, and Kitten wants some action. She tries to take care of that herself, leaving her man to his work, but her toy is a bit loud, so he busts in and breaks it. Now, without access to a marital aid, she turns her attention to her man. This, of course, is even more distracting for the man. I mean, good luck concentrating with those things plopped on the table. And she does eventually break his concentration. And he does what she wants, but not in the way that she wants. You see, our main story here will concern this couple and their bedroom troubles. And it's difficult to explain exactly what their troubles are, considering where we are. So, pay attention. When it comes to dessert flavors, Kitten prefers vanilla, but her man is only interested in chocolate. And that's a pain in the...
I get it.
So, deed done, Kitten runs out and Lamar listens to a radio evangelist, the dancing woman from the opening scene, and falls asleep. The next day, Kitten finds a skinny dipper. She dives in and, unlike Alex Kintner in Jaws, this boy survives being swallowed. After that, Kitten is visited by a door-to-door salesman who sells lingerie. Meyer fans will recognize the salesman from Faster Pussycat Kill Kill and Mudhoney. This scene eventually turns into a kind of poetry slam, and like most of the movie, it's kind of funny and very weird, and in no way, shape, or form can be shown here on YouTube.
No fair.
Meanwhile, Lamar's boss encourages him to work some overtime. His boss, by the way, is played by June Mack. She was a prostitute, and knowing Ebert's love of, how do you say this politely, big black women, Russ sent Ebert to check her out. Ebert climbed that mountain and was well pleased, and June got the job. Sadly, June Mack was murdered shortly after this film was released, and the case was never solved. The good folks over at the Rialto Report put together an excellent piece of investigative journalism trying to piece the story together. It's a fascinating read, or listen if you prefer that. It is a podcast, and it involves mobsters and bodyguards and even Larry Flint. It's pretty cool. I'll link it down below. Anyway, Lamar goes to a strip club and doesn't recognize that the stripper is his wife. Somehow the wig tricked him, and then the narrator informs us that Lamar has a very low IQ, which, okay, that explains things well enough, and I guess it means that I'm a genius because I could recognize Kitten without looking at her hair at all. Anyway, Kitten Natividad reveals her, Kitten Natividad, and this guy came prepared for the New England clam bake. So Kitten drugs Lamar's drink and ties him to a bed upstairs. Her plan is to show him forcefully that when it comes to dessert, vanilla is preferable to chocolate.
Confused? There's no need to be. This is really a very simple story.
This doesn't quite work, and Lamar and Kitten decide they need extra help. They visit a doctor, and Lamar does have a bit of a breakthrough.
Why can't a woman be more like a man?
And then he hides in a closet. Get it? The doctor tries his best to get him out and off. Get it? As a last-ditch effort, Lamar visits the radio faith healer that we had met at the beginning, and our story comes full circle. So, will this finally be the cure that Lamar so desperately needs, or will he maintain his interest in chocolate rings? Well, that's enough out of me as far as plot goes. Let's talk some highlights. Kitten Natividad. She is lovely. She's one of those rare sexploitation stars who manages to be light and fun and cute and smoking hot all at the same time. And she has never looked better than she does in this film. She's naked through most of it, so there's very little I can show you, but trust me, wow. And like most Russ Meyer films, this one is shot very well. Russ knew how to photograph, and it shows. We get the cool angles and cool compositions that we expect from a Meyer film, and it's all masterfully edited together. But what I really like about this one is the color palette. He used a lot of bright colors and, importantly, kept the color palette simple, creating these bold, cartoony images. He even went so far as to paint the bed springs so they would match the set. And it's interesting that Russ didn't usually spend so much time on color as he does in this movie. There was Naked Girls of the Wild West, and that had a similar sort of bold, cartoony look. But aside from that, Russ usually used the natural muted colors of the landscapes that he liked to shoot in, which was often the desert. So the film is sexy and it looks fantastic, and it's also pretty funny. My favorite sequence is near the beginning when Kitten distracts Lamar from his homework, but there's some other funny stuff too. As long as you aren't the quick to offend type, this film would not go over well today at all. I mean, essentially this movie is about a closeted gay man who can't satisfy his wife because he can't get over his hang-up with, his interest in chocolate. And as far as the movie is concerned, this is something that needs to be fixed. I suppose this is what modern audiences would call problematic. And I don't care what modern audiences think, but this film is still not perfect. Like a man savoring a chocolate-covered banana, this film has some shortcomings. Well, the selection of ladies here is pretty poor for a Russ Meyer film. Like I said, Kitten is great, of course, and the nurse in the doctor's office is all kinds of wow. But that's it, really. The other women here are too plasticky for my tastes. Your taste might differ, of course, so if you like the look of skin stretched over a beach ball, this is your movie. That's not really for me, though. I mean, beach balls, they just don't bounce right. Beyond that, even though parts of this film are really quite funny, like the homework interrupting scene, other parts are not funny, like that doctor scene. I don't object to the film's gay stereotype, I object to it not being funny. I've said it before when discussing Meyer, but he really didn't have a very good sense of humor, which is weird since the guy basically made cartoons. And there we have it, Russ's final real film. It's a trashy cartoon, and it is pretty entertaining. But it's also pretty far from my favorite Russ Meyer film, although interestingly, on the commentary track, Russ said it is his favorite of his films. Which I suppose shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. When it comes to Russ Meyer, we can expect bad taste.